guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Optibottoms coming with another video review. And on today's episode, thanks to the support of my patrons, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Studio Series Voyager Class Long Haul. Another addition to the Constructicon set. For the package, you got that really nice Transformers text with the Generation logo. You can see, obviously, this comes from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. He is the 42nd figure in the new Studio Series line. You got an up-close image of him there. The opposite, well, you drop it. The opposite side here just has an image of Devastator and then like a little image on the display stand of Devastator's head. Come to the back of the package, see that he transforms in 21 steps, and you got an image of him in his robot as well as his dump truck mode. I know a lot of people are going to be asking me, Paul, are you going to be getting the KSI boss? No, I'm not. I don't have any interest in that figure. He's just primarily a repaint. Don't have any interest. But you can see that he does come with his backdrop, which is the Pyramid Desert Battle. And as all these Studio Series, you get a very brief description. It says Constructicon Long Haul combines with his comrades to form Constructicon Devastator. And that is it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Voyager Class Long Haul opened up out of its packaging and obviously in his vehicle mode. And this looks really very nice. Now I do have to apologize, I no longer have that original version to compare him to, but imagine a more light green and a little bit bigger. But one thing I'll say about this is it's far more accurate looking. The color, the look, all of it looks terrific. The only thing that is fairly ugly is this. Yeah, he's got like his hands just hanging out there. It's okay. I mean, you could kind of pretend that that's just, you know, junk that he's hauling around, but it is kind of gappy on the bottom, you know, with some spaces and everything. But it's still decent looking. I mean, look, like that looks pretty cool. One thing that I'll also say is that, like right here, I don't know if you can see it, like there's some tabs and everything. When you bring this down and you lock this in, I feel like that gap is supposed to close down a lot more. Where you see the little nubs hanging out kind of underneath there, in between the two gaps of light, that actually goes up into a slot section. But I feel like it doesn't go all the way, and then because of it, you don't get these bits here kind of collapsing properly. So that's definitely unfortunate, but it still is a pretty good representation of him. See that he's got single tires here in the front, he's got the dual tires in the back. The front tires, unless you push down, do not like rolling, just moving here. And I mean, and this is a smooth surface. I mean, it's not super slick or anything, but it's not glass or anything or whatever. So like the tires on the back go pretty well. These ones don't like move. Well, that one sometimes does. So those are a little bit tight. So there are issues I have here in the vehicle mode, but again, it's still not terribly bad. The only thing that like I feel is not my fault is the tires and then this. That might be my fault right there. So I'm not going to really knock it down for too much for that, but it is worth noting that it's a little bit difficult to get kind of collapsed up in there. For a comparison, like I said, I don't have the original one, but I do have the new Constructicons from the Studio Series. This is what I have so far. We got Rampage and Scrap Metal. You can see that he is fairly big by comparison to another Voyager figure, and then obviously Scrap Metal is a deluxe, so the size here I think is pretty decent. This might be a little bit bigger because I mean he's supposed to like scoop and then I guess I mean if you scooped and then brought it over, I guess that's pretty decent. Maybe he should be a little bit bigger, but everything's kind of being proportional so that you can obviously get a good looking Devastator from the movie, which is going to be massive. I mean, it really, really is. And you can really see that with this guy in his foot mode, which I'm going to go to now. Unfortunately, he doesn't come with any accessories. This is everything. So going into the foot mode, I'm going to take these back wheels, just kind of pull those away, detach those and kind of rotate those up to the side. Come up here, you kind of want to push this. This makes it a little bit easier if you kind of just push this down so you can loosen this, and then take this whole section, slide this out. In case the hand comes loose, just push that right back down. There's a little tab section. Let me see if I can show you that. You got a little round peg right there that he holds onto with his hand. So keep that there and keep that locked into the position. So do that on this side as well. So slide this piece out, and then you're going to rotate that around again, that kind of dislodged like so. Then take this entire section, or well, spin it around, and then start taking these front bits right here. This all kind of does get in the way, just keep that out of the way. Rotate these out to the side, just like so, just a little bit to give some clearance. And then you take this entire bit, detach this, and then take this entire section and you hinge this down like that, and then take this entire bit and then rotate this all the way to the underside, just like so. Then we're going to take this, keeping this all tabbed in, this bit right here, you want to bring that whole thing, what's going on, this whole section here has to rotate right there. There we go. And then bring this around, and you got some on the underside here, you have a couple little slot sections that tab in to these points right here. So just kind of look from the bottom and line up one, and that should line up the other, and then collapse that piece down a little bit more. If you have that lined up on one side, you probably have it lined up now on the other side. So bring that in, give that a good squeeze, locking all that into place. Again, keep those feet right there. Take this back section, rotate this around. You see a little slot right there. There's a little tab. You bring that around, kind of creates his heel. These little bits right here, you just kind of fold those down, and then again, kind of just angle this, keep that into position. And here's his foot. So again, you see how big this thing is going to get. This is a really large foot, and what's cool is it will be fairly articulated. You can see you can move it side to side, so he's going to have some good ankle pivot right there. So solid looking. I'm still curious how they're going to get everything to kind of tab in to place securely, I might add. Just because looking, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different points, I guess, that anything on here could really attach to be a leg. But setting that there, here's one of the Optimus Prime figures. I don't remember which one this is, but you can see that's a pretty big foot. I mean, he's a Voyager figure, so I mean, he's gonna scale well with this, but as a foot, that's giant. Now, going to his robot mode, you kind of undo all this, detach that, kind of keep that flopping around, bring this whole section back up, get that kind of behind here, like so, and then these arms, untab them at the hands, right there, and then you rotate them out. There we go. And you spin these whole things around. These little bits right here, you detach them and then they hinge down, and then you lock them into place like so. Do that on this side, kind of spin that arm, spin that around. Obviously you want the paint section showing towards the front, so bend that, slide that down, fold that in, and then you rotate these around. These little pieces kind of get in the way. Let's bring the legs down. So bring this up and then straighten out those legs like so. Take these bits that you moved off to the side, rotate those towards the front for his robot mode. Again, bring these arms down, rotate that around, collapse that down, spin there. Again, bring that down, get that all the way up and in position. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to do, but you know where the arms are supposed to go, so put the arms there, right? This piece right here is going to sit up there. This is going to come up lock into place on the back, like so. And then you have on the inside here, I'm going to bend these arms. On the inside here are little tabs. You slot the tires inside there. Once you get, let's see if I have that hinged properly. So you want to lock these little wheels into place. Pull that all the way up there. There we go. And then you, like I said, lock the wheels. These arm bits get in the way really often, and the shoulders kind of suck. So get that around, and then lock those tires in. There we go. Do that on this side as well, and then you can hinge them back a little bit like that. We're going to take this again. That comes up. You got little posts right in here that, when you bring that up, again, you tab that into place along his backside right there, and split him right down the middle of his legs. Again, kind of get these arms out of the way, and then rotate that. Then take the feet, or the tires, rotate those around, those stay off to the side like that. Do that there, and fold the feet down. Do that on both sides. And the last thing to do, again, I'm going to just try to straighten out his arms. Let's see, bring that back. Kind of fiddle with the positioning of his legs, and then just spin his head around. And there he is, the big chunky guy himself, Long Haul, finally in his robot mode. And honestly, again, between the Studio Series line and the Siege, Hasbro's killing it. This guy looks terrific. Now, he's not without problems, but I don't really blame Hasbro for that. I kind of just blame the movie design. I mean, he is a big, chunky little monkey. I mean, he is huge, and a lot of it is kind of stuck here in his arms and the back here. I mean, the legs aren't too bad, but I mean, you get a lot of kind of junk going on in this guy's trunk, just all over the place. But again, I can't really blame Hasbro. I mean, I kind of got to give him credit for taking the CGI design and kind of making it work. I mean, the original Voyager figure was pretty good, but he was definitely a lot more lanky, if you remember. This guy is short, he's stout, he's bulky. You can see that with his legs as well. Absolutely terrific. Now, kind of giving him a spin around here, you can see, again, like I was talking about, you do have a bit of a backpack. It's there. There's not really anything that you can do with it. And then he does feel like he has a tendency, I don't even know. I mean, because he's standing up straight, but for some reason when you look at it on the side, it's kind of like an optical illusion where it looks like he's leaning back some, but he really isn't, which is strange. But you do have all that stuff there in the back. Color looks really very good. I love the detail that's painted into his chest area. The head sculpt looks fantastic. Now, there's a kind of ongoing controversy. I don't know if it's ever actually been confirmed, but we got Igor. You guys remember him? People said that Igor is him. I can see it. I mean, yeah. I mean, you got like that exposed section there, the red eyes. Yeah. I can see it. I'm going to go with it. But you can see great detail in there, sculpted very, very nicely. Nice paint applications, really pulling out some of those extra details like with the silver. You got that also on the arms as well with some wires and everything. Coming down to the lower portion of the body, again, you got that nice dark black color. Well, dark black, maybe it's like more like a dark gray or something, but you got some silver on there. Coming around the side as well, you got some more silver bits put in there, and then you got some kind of gunmetal gray down here in the thigh. So in general, again, terrific amount of detail. Definitely inspires that look that he had in the movie. Like I said, in general, I really do think that they did a great job of capturing his look. Now, for his articulation, like I said, this is where things get a little bit cumbersome. His head is on a ball joint, so you can kind of get it looking up and down, left and right. But again, a lot of stuff there getting in the way, kind of preventing you from getting it easily. His shoulders here move forward and back, in and out, but again, lots of stuff like legs, shoulder bits, all this stuff really kind of hinders some of it, so you have to be a little bit careful. Moves in and out. He rotates forward and back at the elbow, and then does spin at the elbow as well. But again, all this stuff that's on his arms, his shoulders, and it's all accurate to how he kind of looked in the film, so you just have to mitigate some of it. It's definitely doable, but is cumbersome. He does rotate at the waist, fairly nice ratchet joint right there. The hips do move forward and back. Those are on softer ratchet joints, but again, these bits right here kind of then bump right up into his chest. So it does rotate more, but then you have to kind of spin it to get it kind of out there. Has nice hinges here going outward. He does rotate at the upper part of the thigh. Bends here at, it feels just like one joint. Yeah, just one joint there at the knee. But it, again, yeah, there's junk there when you're trying to do it. He kind of, well, he doesn't really do anything. I mean, his toes move forward and back, but he does have ankle tilt, so you can, if you could get him doing the splits, you can get him doing the splits. So a lot of the articulation points are there, but again, definitely limited by a lot of the stuff that he has on him. But again, I can't fault it too much, because that's just the design of the character. So it is what it is. For some comparisons, obviously, here is his other Constructicon brothers that I have currently. And again, Voyager class figure, a little bit bigger, not as bulky, obviously, as Long Haul. And then we have Scrap Metal, which is a deluxe figure, so you get a kind of idea of how he scales. And this is shaping up really nicely. It really is. I think that I'm super excited about all of these guys, and it's one of those instances where I might get two versions of this, one that I can have as Devastator, one that I can have as individual Decepticons, because I think they look all great separately. Now, for his transformation, first come up here to his head, rotate this around so that the back is facing forward just like so. Then come down here to the legs, take the toes, tuck them up into the shins like that, and then rotate them at the lower portion of the leg so that the wheel is facing forward. When you have that, then you can take the wheel, rotate that back out to the side. That will clip down and lock into place. Then bring the two halves of the legs together and give that a good squeeze, locking those bits into place. Come up to these arms, take these little side panels, slide them out from the rest of the arm, and then rotate them down. Do that on the opposite side as well. And then if it hasn't happened yet, things will probably start coming detached. Just kind of pull this away, flop this down. We are eventually going to tab it down here, but I'm going to leave it loose for right now, just to kind of keep things a little bit easier to kind of manipulate. Take this, pull these out, they tab in, get that out of the way, just like that. And then these, again, just try to create some clearance for you. Come back here to the back section, and then these arms, you're going to bring this up, you rotate them. They're going to hinge down and rotate at the forearm. Make sure that you get that as compressed inside as possible. I don't really see tabbing mechanisms or anything in there. It just kind of rests inside that section. So kind of rotate that around, and then position the hand where it's going to go down and lock into these little hole bits. So again, kind of rotate that in, bring this up, bring that up, bend around at the forearm section, and get everything collapsed in like that. Again, a lot of stuff will kind of start getting in the way, but make sure that you get that as far collapsed in as you possibly can. That will help with the lining up process later on. Now this is what I was talking about. These little bits right here are meant to go in these little slots, but they don't seem to go in perfectly or all the way. I don't know. So it is a kind of pain in the butt, but just kind of push that down and then you can line all this up and collapse all of this. But like I said, it just doesn't feel like it goes down as far as it needs to. So it's a little annoying on that aspect, but it is what it is. I'm just going to get this out of the way. Then again, bring these down. You want to have him grab hold of these little posts with his hand. So just line that up and then line that up with the holes of the actual hands themselves. So again, do that on this side. I'm just keeping this up again, keeping some stuff kind of out of the way. Push that down, lock that into place. These little bits, open these, and then slide these down. Do that on this side as well. Lift that up, slide that down, and then bring this back in again. Kind of, no, that decided to detach. So kind of keep this pushed down. It makes it a little bit easier to lift this and then collapse all this in. Some things will probably detach, just kind of push it back into place, and then lift this up and lock that into the side right there. It's a little bit tricky to do because you're going from the outside pushing in. So line, come on, there we go. Oh well, that and that, definitely a little bit tricky to do, but ultimately seeing a lot of the stuff comes detached when you're doing it. So do I have his hand down there? Come on, there we go. But once you have it like that, you do have to give it a good squeeze to close that gap. Let's do that on this side as well. There we go, and then give it a good squeeze to close that gap. Make sure that these hands stayed collapsed in. Again, this whole thing like detached, so just kind of push that back down. And like I said, I feel like there's something that's pushing up against it. Again, yeah, I mean, it definitely is not as good as it could be. Get these little tires out of the way. Now this part here, you see how it kind of goes outward, and I don't really know why. Yeah, you have to squeeze these and tab that in here, but it's just held on by friction. Again, I feel like it's not collapsing in all the way, but you can kind of see how it bends. That's something that I noticed with a lot of people's figures. So I don't know. It is what it is. Then take these. You got little tabs right here. You swivel these around, and these will tab into place along the bottom. On that side as well. Tab that in along the bottom. That's there. When you're done, though, there you have him back in his vehicle mode. Overall, though, he's a solid toy. There are definitely issues with him. Most of them come in terms of getting everything lined up properly, and I'm not entirely certain that I am. So I don't feel like it's fair to criticize the toy for that. But, I mean, like, stuff like this, it just feels like things kind of want to pull apart, like especially like here. I mean, it's just, it feels like it wants to rip apart from the way that it's supposed to be, and I don't feel like those are supposed to curve inward like that. So I feel like I'm missing something in it. So I'm not going to really criticize the figure. Oh, I just pulled the whole thing apart. But I don't want to criticize the figure because I think that I am doing something wrong. As it is, I do really, really like the toy. Again, it's definitely not lined up right because the tires are not all the way down. But, you know, and put him there. I don't know. I just feel like I'm definitely doing something wrong with this, and the instructions, as most of you know, are not very clear on a lot of things. Oh, wait, that tire's not all the way up. Maybe that's part of the problem for it. It's one of those things where the instruction, and see, like, that whole thing just like completely pulled apart. So there are definitely issues with it. Transformation isn't all that hard. It's actually fairly simple. You could see that the biggest issue is going back to this mode because you got to get everything lined up and tabbed properly. But where I feel this figure really shines is his robot mode. Yes, he's a clunky, chunky little mess of robot, but that is accurate. It's how he looked in the film. And I think that Hasbro did a great job of making him look accurate. That's one of the things about the Studio Series line, giving us the most accurate representations of characters that we've ever gotten. And this is by far a lot more accurate than that original Voyager class long haul that we got years ago. So they succeed in that department. The engineering is definitely going to be tricky with this guy because you got a dump truck, which looks-wise looks pretty good. The only thing that really isn't all that good looking is that top section. So, I mean, they did a pretty good job there. And then you got to get him into that chunky robot, which, and I've said this many, many times, a lot of the things in the movies, because of CGI, cheated. And Hasbro has to make a physical representation of that CGI image looking fairly accurate in both modes. And I think they did it here. So as a standalone figure, he's decent. He's definitely above average. But if you're collecting the Constructicons, he's a must-have. So you do got to get him. Robot mode displays beautifully. That leg is massive, and I can't wait to see that all come together. Talked about it before. I am very, very excited about these Constructicons. So we're slowly going along the process, but here's another one for you guys. So all that being said, if Long Haul is a figure that you'd like to add to your collection, he is available right now at Big Bad Toy Store. So for that, I'll put a link down in the video description where you'll go to BBTS and you can check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of the wide range of Transformers Studio Series figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Remember, if you like this video, I would really appreciate it, guys, if you would do one small thing for me. And that is just to simply hit that thumbs up button. That one very small gesture really does go a long way towards helping me out, and I would really appreciate it. I'd also like to send a huge thank you if you made it all the way to the end of this review. Another way that you can really help support my channel is making sure that you watch the video all the way through. And if you did that, thank you. I'd also like to send a huge shout out to all of my patrons, who again, through their continued support, helped to make this review possible. And if you'd like information on how you can help support my channel by becoming a patron, feel free to check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/optibotimus. And finally, remember, grow wise, grow strong, but never grow up. Thank you for watching and taking the time to be a kid.
You got the